Good afternoon and welcome to the Pittsburgh Land Bank Board of Director meeting for Friday, January 11, 2019. First order of business is the roll call. We'll ask Bethany, please call the roll.
Reverend Burgess?
Here.
Dr. Bay?
Here.
Paul Legger?
Here.
Diamante Walker? Here. Senator Fontana? Councilwoman Cale Smith? Councilman Lavelle?
Here.
Steve Mazza?
Here.
You have 6 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next order of business then is public comment. Members of the public who want to address the land bank, please come forward. You'll be given 3 minutes. Green light means your time has begun. Yellow light means your time has expired. Red light means yellow light means you have 1 minute to summarize. I do this every week on that on council, and I don't usually get that one wrong. Yellow means you have 1 minute to summarize. Red light means your time has expired. Please relinquish the podium. First speaker, please. I have to say it twice. First speaker, please. Seeing no speakers, we will move on to the action items on the agenda. First is the January minutes. You have January minutes report. Is there a motion to approve the January minutes?
I have one correction to the minutes.
Correction to the minutes.
It states that I was on the phone at the January board meeting. I was actually present.
All right, that will be noted. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Need a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, minutes are approved. 219, we're in my report, the 219 priorities, Bethany.
2019 priorities? Sure. So at the January board meeting, the board reviewed a memo that staff had drafted with a overall set of priorities for 2019 and started a discussion as to if the board had any additions or changes to that plan, and asked for some time to deliberate and think about it and have some discussions with your various stakeholders or constituents, and then come back and have a further conversation at this meeting regarding what some priorities for 2019 may be.
Has there been any additions or conversations in addition to that? If not, I am going to I'm going to delay the conversation about the personnel conversation. I think I have been in contact with the URA and the mayor's office and some other things, and so I want to have that conversation at the next meeting. I want to have some time to talk about personnel issues as we move forward. All right, and so we will move on to the next stage of next part of the agenda, which is the administrator's report, which is Bethany.
Thank you. 2 items on the administrator's update are the inventory review, which is, we are, as of a few days ago, as of yesterday, executing the amended agreement which we needed in order to be able to close on the first property that this board and city council had authorized, 243 Meadow Street. So as soon as that is formally executed, I would expect that closing to take place before the end of February, if not even in the next week. So that is a pretty significant milestone, and once we have that first property, Irene, legal counsel, is working also with the law department on the next set of 10 properties, which would follow in pretty quick order right after. So in the first quarter of 2019, that initial inventory will be coming over into the land bank's name. That's it on inventory review for now. The property reserve update, also at the last meeting, the board reviewed a 1-pager as to the next steps with regards to reforming the Pittsburgh property reserve. The board had provided some advice and some insight as to how to potentially think differently about it. So you'll find in your packet a revised 1-page document reflecting additional advisory committee members, bringing different backgrounds, perspectives, and issues. One of the concerns that the board raised was that without the right specific levels of expertise and set of individuals, we wouldn't necessarily, we might be reinventing the wheel instead of making significant change. So we've done some thinking. It was recommended we look at the HOF advisory board makeup, which we've done, to propose a slightly different makeup for that. Again, expanded seats, expanded expertise.
And I want to make sure that my concerns were clear, that it was not so much the structure, it was that it would be the same people that are always at this, doing the same things over and over, and we're going to have the same results that we've had. I don't want it to be that we have this idea of, we know, when I looked at the list, I knew who we were going to appoint. So I really want to make sure that we're giving the opportunity for new voices and some new skill sets to actually to be involved.
Okay, any other conversation? If no other conversation, we'll move on to the nominations committee. Ms. Walker.
Okay, so we are excited to report that we have two very dynamic candidates, and what we would like to do before making formal recommendation is to sit down with both candidates and invite other interested board members that would like to meet with them to do so before the next board meeting. Is there anybody else who would like to participate in an interview process?
Well, I think it would depend on when it was.
I would coordinate to make sure that whatever board members wanted to be present.
I'm interested in sitting down because I feel like we're, as I said, we're just recycling people through the same process over and over.
So I have the nominations committee, Councilman Cale Smith. Is there any other board members? Okay.
And this would invite a few new voices to the table, so it's pretty exciting.
New voices that are probably known to somebody around here. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, we don't really give people that have absolutely no connections here any kind of chance to really do anything.
Difficult for people with no connections to get connected, so it's,
Right.
it's one of those circles.
All right, that brings us to the financial report. Mr. Lager.
There are a number of things that are the specifics, which I'll just turn over to Bethany to review. And a couple of items. Number C, the audit. We will have an audit for 2018 coming up, and we need to accept and be presented with the audit for 2017, which we will do shortly. As far as to $200,000 that the city owes us, that is from 2018. The contract is finished for that, is that correct?
The contract is finished for that, and it has been amended to go into 2019 or the exhaustion of the funds, whichever is earlier, the first quarter of 2019 or exhaustion of funds.
So those funds are still available to us under the 2018 budget?
Yes.
Because that legislation was passed in 2018. So we will be getting
Yes.
$200,000 cash from the city. That is not in the budget for 2019, but that $200,000 will go in this year and be cash that we will recognize as money this year. Okay, Bethany, would you like to go through the reports?
Yes, you have in your packet your standard financial reports. You'll notice that the budget versus actual, we've started to reflect 2019, so you no longer have the 2018 information, but you will have all of the year end when you have the audit report presented. Budget versus actual, the balance sheet, and as Director Legger stated, we have the balance in the bank account from the Heinz grant that was received last year, but we still have two sets of receivables outstanding, the $50,000 grant from the URA and the $200,000 that we'll recognize as cash this year that Director Legger just spoke of from the city. And then you have your accounts payable. There are only two expenses in the month of January that have accrued since the last board meeting to be paid that we're presenting to the board for approval. One for professional services for Irene's time, and the other is the administrative fee for the at the URA. So that's it in terms of the financial reports, and then the other item is the $6,000 quote for the 2018 audit. I don't know if you want to take them separately or together, Director Legger.
We can take them together and just do one motion to accept all those reports, and the authorization to spend $6,000 on the audit. It's a very small audit, so the $6,000 is about appropriate. That's very basic. So can we have a motion to accept those 3 items?
So moved.
There's a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposers,
Aye.
nay. All right, that exhausts the financial report. That takes us to the Communications Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Bay.
We have, of the viable submissions and responses to the RFQ, the committee would like to recommend Bright Thought and extend a contract so that they can begin to develop the website. It's an organization that's being incubated at Riverside Center for Innovation. They've done some good work. Their sample websites look pretty good, and it was a pretty thoughtful process that they have in an application that they've submitted where it looks like they're going to be able to address what we need.
All right, so we have a recommendation. Any conversation about the recommendation? Seeing no conversation about the recommendation, I need that in form of a motion then. Or I guess we can just accept the recommendation coming from the Communication Committee as an action. I need a second. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. So you have Bethany contact them, we'll enter a contract in with them, and we will keep going. All right, so legislative update. We are grateful to have Senator Fontana for a number of reasons, but besides his real estate experts, we are grateful for his tenure in the state legislature, which allows us to help us host a legislative meeting. And you want to talk about that, Bethany?
Yes, so we discussed last month, Dr. Bay introduced the idea of, now that it is both, there are a number of new elected officials at the state level that represent parts of or all of the city of Pittsburgh. And additionally, it is a new legislative session that, with new chairs and new committee assignments that, while they are here in Pittsburgh, assembling them all and having a sort of a land bank orientation meet and greet, have a small presentation, but really be available to answer questions and make the connection to the state stronger as we move forward with potentially any legislation that may come up at the state level that might affect the land bank that we might want to be involved in.
So I have perhaps some suggestions. We may want to do it at a date that we meet so that we're not asking people for a completely separate day. And we may want to have it hosted somewhere, maybe either in the morning at 11 or after our meeting at 2, but someplace where they can park and someplace where we can give them food. And, someplace where we can provide a reception for the elected officials. That's at least my thinking.
I would suggest a Friday, which, because a lot of even if they're there for appropriations hearings, Friday's usually no appropriation hearings, so that will free them up. Monday or Friday are usually the better days. So to your point, if you want to entice them with food, that's okay. They're good for lunch, free lunches. But, to your point, yeah, easy to get to, parking, so that would be the next.
How many folks would be in attendance?
There's about, I think we did the math on that, 13, there's about 10, I think. I don't think we'd get them all at the
Three
same
in the
time,
Senate.
but yeah.
All right, I was thinking 412 Boulevard, they have the really nice downstairs, and there's parking available on site, the new location of the URA in City and Land Bank. We've been using that for those kinds of meetings, and it does have parking, and it's conveniently located.
All right.
You need a caterer, but.
So I'll leave that up to sort of Bethany, and if you want to participate, that's great. Not my forte. I sort of just, at the church, I sort of just walk in and my wife tells me where to sit. So, sure. I think this exhausts.
And I tell you where to go when you're here. So.
Where to sit, she meant.
Yeah, after last month we celebrated, what month is this? Yeah, we celebrate, we're odd, we were actually married on December 31st, but we were married at night, so, which was in the middle of the morning, so it was actually January 1st we were married, but our license is December. So anyway, we actually celebrated at night, and so it's been 34 years, so I guess, after 34 years, we almost have mental telepathy, we don't have to talk anymore. And if I can look at her, I know what I'm supposed to do.
And she's an amazing woman, I would say.
So, we have exhausted, I don't have any new business. Is there any new business in front of us? If not, that actually exhausts our agenda. Any other comments?
Let me make a proposal. We cover so much material here, and I was going to propose that we also extend the opportunity for public comment at the end. If there are questions that people may have where if we're presenting something new and fresh, that people can react and respond, and at the end of the meeting, we could have open up again to a public
Let's have that
question.
conversation. I'm hesitant to do that for a variety of reasons. Because we are a governmental agency, we have to let's talk about it. 'Cause it has to do
People
with
the opportunity
fairness.
to talk about what's on our agenda.
Yeah, I know. It talks about.
But I like that idea, too.
I like the idea.
That's the way the Housing Opportunity Fund does it, and it's limited time. You have a minute for response at the end, but.
Yeah, I think we just have to, before we do it, I have to make sure that we're not breaking any rules or any laws, because this public comment period is part of a state statute we follow, I think. And so I just have to make sure that if we do it, we're doing it so we're not unintentional. So a review, think about it. Think about it, let me know if that makes sense.
So I think the idea is also not to necessarily respond to the public comment, so not take questions. I think that's where it could get a little slippery, but I think just a chance to hear again what was covered, what's important to you, what are your reactions.
Also, hopefully, though, we will have, interactive website, so they will have opportunities, even if it's not here immediately. If they have phones and things, they will have opportunity to post comments. So when we have the website up and functioning.
You know what else I think would be helpful is if we had Bethany or someone from the Land Bank go to community meetings if people want to know what's going on. Go to the community instead of waiting for them to come to us, because this is not always convenient. It's during the day, but some way that we're reaching out more to the public and informing them.
I am at invitation. At this point, if they invite me, I do go out to,
Your-
but they
your
don't necessarily know
invitation
to
list is gonna get a lot
but they don't
longer now.
necessarily know to invite me. So absolutely, I do it. It's not every night of the week, but I certainly I think that is the best way to really get
Yeah.
into and have
And
those
not necessarily has to be
conversations.
you, but I mean, Irene, anyone that works for the.
Does that go through the website, the requests?
They can email me. They can tweet at me. They
on
can
the website.
call me. They can. I'm better via email, but yes.
But the new website that is designed, I think we can add it into.
We can include it, yeah.
It would just be helpful, just so we're reaching out a little bit more.
So is there any conversation, any other conversation, no other conversation? I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposers, nay. We are adjourned.